I think we're live.
We are. I love that intro music, by the way. Whoever picked that out is just
She's
really
pretty
knows
amazing,
their stuff.
right? Pretty amazing operations, chief operations officer I have, huh?
It's like they know what they're doing.
It's amazing.
Crazy talk.
Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. It is time for Moment of Presence, and thank you for joining us today. And I get to say us because Krista Barone has agreed to be on with us at least once a month or any other time I can convince her to be on. So hello and welcome to Moment of Presence. I am Michelle Barone, the of Moksha Grace Coaching. I'm the life coach, the mom, the caregiver, and I'm joined today by Krista Barone, the
Hello.
operations guru, consultant extraordinaire, daughter,
Cancer
sister.
survivor.
Excuse me, I was going to say that badass cancer survivor is what I was going to say. And today we're going to talk about healthcare, but a little bit different. We're going to talk about what's keeping you up at night, which is healthcare because it's sleep, and so it has to do with your health and care. So we thought that would make a lot of sense because when you're in the hospital, which you're supposed to be healing, a lot of times you get not a lot of times, all the time you get disturbed because they have to take care of you and check on you and do vitals and shift change and medicine and potty breaks and things. And so that's what actually started us on this conversation. And then we said, but it kind of goes farther, right, Krista? It goes
Absolutely.
when you come home and when you're caring for patients at home, your loved one doesn't feel good.
When you're caring for animals, especially when they're babies.
Right. And what if you're a newborn? What if you're a newborn? What if you are a new mom with a newborn?
Or new dad.
New dad, right? New parent.
New grandparent watching the baby for the first time.
Yeah. And so we decided to talk about what's keeping you up at night, because this really is something that's so important, because how you sleep affects your day. And guess what? It impacts everyone else's day around you. Yeah. So if you know somebody that needs to be listening into this conversation, take a second, share this video out with your friends, family, anyone else that needs to hear the message today. Put hi in the comments. Let us know where you're from. Add your name so that we can actually see who you are, because believe it or not, we can't see when you're commenting. We can't see who you are. So if you could do that, that would be great. So we're going to go over how to cope with little sleep over a prolonged period of time. We're going to talk about being that patient caregiver, kind of environment.
Or just a worry-wort.
Or a worry-wort. Or
an insomniac.
And then we're going to talk about a little mental health check-in when you're sleep deprived, and then talk about some ways that, you could try to change it up and maybe get some sleep. So,
or how to cope without
the sleep. Because there are times in your life where there are just no other options. Would you like to join me for our 3 breaths, and let's bring ourselves into the moment, my favorite part of the conversation. Okay, so you know the drill. Big deep breath in, hold for 3, and then big exhale out. Bring in the day when you breathe in. So here we go. Breathe in. Let it all just kind of gather. And then big exhale. Hello, mother. Big deep breath in. Hold it. Get a little bit more in. And then big exhale. And then another big deep breath in. Think about how nice it is to sleep in on a weekend. Breathe out. Can you imagine if you did that every night before you went to sleep?
I highly recommend it, actually.
I strongly recommend it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, Krista,
Yes.
which resonates with you the most that keeps you up at night?
What are my choices?
Caregiver,
Mm-hmm.
insomniac,
Mm-hmm.
worry-wort, regular old human, business owner, or a parent of a human or an animal. What keeps you up at night?
So I could sleep given most circumstances. So I'm gonna have to go with caregiver, animal or human, because that's really the only thing that could really keep me up at night. I mean, there's also, let's not forget that there's positive things, being excited to go on a trip or, something exciting happening the next day. But I'm going to have to go with caregiver because I have been blessed to be the caregiver for many baby animals. And they are very much like toddlers, where you have to wake up every hour, every 2 hours, every 3 hours to feed them and whatnot. So that one probably resonates the most with me.
Yeah.
And we recently had some family things in the last year or so where we had to be up quite frequently. So I would go with the caregiver aspect for myself. But in my past, I've also very, very heavily resonated with the patient side of it as well, being a patient in various different forms in the hospital, whether for short term or long term. So I can definitely resonate with both of those.
Yeah.
What about you?
I I have
all of them.
in case you didn't know, I have a little bit of a monkey mind.
What?
And so my mind goes a mile a minute, and lots of things can distract me, take me off my focus.
Mm-hmm.
I can be thinking about the next day. So it's not, I know what. Yeah, even my mom's going, what? It's not that I'm worrying. It's that I'm going over in my head, okay, what didn't I get done today? What did I want to do today?
You're ruminating.
What do I want to do tomorrow? I'm ruminating. I love that word.
Funny that we have ruminants as pets.
That's true. So did you know that according to the National Sleep Foundation, adults age 18 to 64 should aim to get around 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. And those that are age 65 and older should get around 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Interesting that it goes down. The foundation says that getting enough sleep can help boost the immune system, productivity, and mood. Makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. I've recently found that out to be very true for myself.
How many hours do you get a night?
Well, so this is what I'm glad you asked that, because I think those numbers are average, but I think that they could be low and misleading for people. I personally, given my history, I need at least 9 hours, 10, 11, 10, 10 I'm absolutely golden. 9 I can make do. Anything less than that, and I am exhausted. But that's because I have different things with my health and all of that requires me to get a little extra sleep. Where someone, that maybe has absolutely perfect health, fantastic, I'm so happy for you, they may be able to run on 5 hours of sleep just fine, and, like it's not even anything, and they could actually get kind of like, almost like jet lag, sleep lagged by sleeping 9 hours, 10 hours. So I get that that's an average, but I think it can be really misleading for people because you just assume, I just need to get 8 hours. Well, actually, try out 9, try out 7, try out 10, and see which one is the right one for you. Because I know I personally find that literally 30 minutes to an hour can make a humongous difference in my day.
Yeah, a huge difference.
Yeah. What about you?
I get, on average, about 7 hours.
Okay, that's not bad.
And on the low side, 5.
Well,
It
and do
just
you feel like that's sufficient for you, though?
It depends. And I think that as we continue our conversation, you're going to find something out very interesting, because I know I did. Sharon, you get 8 hours. That's amazing. And it's what you find is going to be in your genius. You know, what makes it so that you can be in your genius zone the next day. That's really what matters. And what does the genius zone look like for you? And then you have to adjust your time. So here's the next question. So a lot of people have a hard time getting to sleep, and then some battle with staying asleep. Which one are you?
I can confidently say I never have a problem falling asleep. That's not. I am so blessed and lucky. That is not something that I ever have to deal with. But I'm definitely, depending on what I ate for dinner, could depend on how many times I wake up in a night. Last night I was up constantly. The night before, not even for a second that I can remember. I find that it's so random and sporadic.
Yeah. I definitely am challenged with getting to sleep, because I want to try to wring every last second out of the day to try to complete my to-do list. Or I have jumped down a massive rabbit hole.
Yeah, there's nothing that keeps me up like that. I can't relate to that experience. My body goes, it's time to sleep now. And I might be able to squeeze an extra 30 minutes, but unless it's something really exciting, I'm out.
I find I need to decompress though, and before I can actually fall asleep. I have to
It's probably more of the norm in this case. Yeah. I think that's the thing for most people. And like you said, you're trying to wring out the day. A lot of people try to process the day. You're reliving all the different interactions that you have with people, the decisions you made. Did I make the right decision? Did I say the right thing there? And heaven forbid you feel like you didn't say the right thing in that situation. Now you're going to be obsessing over that before you go to sleep, and obsessing about, could I have done that differently? What would have happened if I had done or said that differently? And I think that's where a lot of mindfulness and mindset work comes in, because you have to literally retrain your brain and go, no, I'm not going to think about that right now.
Yeah.
And it can take quite a bit of time. Like I have the type of mind where my mind takes a little while for me to get into a new habit. So like if I'm in that case, and I have to do it periodically because we slip and we let things come back, old bad habits. But sometimes it takes a while where you literally have to say to yourself, enough, I'm not thinking about this right now. And then 5 minutes, some cases a minute goes by, you're thinking about it again. I'm not thinking about this right now.
Yeah.
Thinking about this right now. And it's different than sticking your head in the sand or ignoring or anything like that. It's just directing your mind to allow yourself periods of time to think about it.
Right.
Realistically, when you're laying in bed, the lights are off, you're cuddled up, you can't do anything about anything at that point.
Well, right, and that's the thing. If once it's done, it's done. If you said something or you did something and you're not sure about it, staying up all night is not going to make it better or go away. What's done is done. Now, one technique that I've heard of, and I think you've heard of it too, is laying there and kind of allowing yourself to replay the day like a movie in your mind, but think about how you would have done it differently, not to feel shame or blame or anything like that, but it's almost like when football players, right, after the game, they check tape. So it's kind of like checking tape. And so you do that before you go to sleep, and then you just let it go. Okay, I did it. I watched the movie. The movie's over, and tomorrow is another movie. and I get to, go for it again. I know one technique that works for me is when I take a shower, I just imagine like the day melting and going right down the drain. Just, wash.
That's a cool technique.
Yeah. It's like, there's an old song, which I don't know that you've heard, but I'm going to wash that man right out of my hair. And I'm going to wash the day like right out of my hair, and you just like let it go down the drain, and it's done. You let the energy go down. You let the thoughts go down, the worries, the concern, anything that you cannot control, because that is something that you can control. So
I think it's really interesting. Our two different like technique strategies for because we have, if anyone watching doesn't know, we have even though we're mother and daughter, we have very different ways that our minds work. And so I think it's interesting that your mind needs that time to re-go over everything and then let it go. Where for my mindset and the way my mind works, I need to forcibly get my mind in the habit of, no, not right now. We're not thinking about that. Because if I were to go through that,
right,
I would end up on like a thought spiral where I'm like thinking about everything and anything now. And that might actually cause me to stay up and think about things. So for my type, so I think that it's important for people to realize is a strategy that works for one person is not necessarily going to work for you. Right. But try them all, because something that you may think, oh, well, that sounds silly, that's not going to work. Well, guess what? After 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, oh, wow, that's making a huge difference. Right. And I would challenge anyone, any of these techniques, the ones that you said or the one that I said, try it out, but you can't just do one day. One day is not going to do much. You have to have that. The mind is too brilliant for that.
Yeah.
Regardless of what your IQ is, the mind is too brilliant for that. You got to keep up the habit in order to see some real changes.
Yeah. Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night? Because I find myself waking up around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, like almost every night.
I think I do. Most of the time I don't remember it, but a lot of times when I do and I do remember it, it's because I've had a dream that I need to write down. I'm a big dream person, so I write down all my dreams. I'm very big believer that they contain meanings that are meant for me to interpret and or receive guidance on intuitively of what it means. So for me, a lot of my waking up in the middle of the night is because I literally have been forced out of sleep to write my dream down, which is kind of my routine. And I'll go some periods where that happens often, and then it won't happen for, a week, a couple weeks, and then it'll happen a bunch again. So that's usually my kind of through the night routine. But, there's that whole other theory and concept about 2 to 4 a.m. is the special hour of the night where the veil is a little thinner.
Right, exactly. And sometimes it can be environmental. It can be that, something happens every night around the same time. We used to have a neighbor that would go, they work night shift, and so they would leave for work. And I think I always come out of, and, I'm at the thinner part of sleeping, the lighter sleeping. And so I would hear the car and I would wake up and I could see the lights from her driving by. And so I think for me, some of the environmental factors definitely make a difference. So waking up during the night is very, very fairly common. 3 a.m. to 5 is the most common, with over 35% of people waking up during the night at least 3 times per week. And environmental factors such as the partner snoring, a change in the room temperature, definitely hot flashes will do it. A loud car driving by, and then it wakes you up. And then some people have a hard time falling back asleep. And so, I know that sometimes I'll take a walk. I'll get up.
That's a great strategy. It's not being able to sleep, or, you wake up in the middle of the night, or you haven't been able to sleep and you've been laying there. Get up. Go outside if possible, and put your feet on the earth, and 5, 10, 15 minutes.
Gaze up at the stars.
That's how the body, that instantly soothes the body.
I remember one time, and I know I told you about this, where I had made a really big decision about something and invested in something for myself. And that night I woke up around 3 a.m. and I think I was up until 5.
Oh boy.
And the voices in my head had a lot to say about my decision. And what I decided to do was journal and just write it all out. And it was so interesting to read the next day the things that I had written down, and then I was able to address them with myself.
I would encourage everybody, everybody, when you are super tired, to journal and read it back the next day. Even if you wake up and you're super tired and read it back through later in the day, it is so incredibly fascinating to see your own mindset. I mean, like when I do it, I sound like a completely different person. My thoughts are completely different. I have ideas that I would never think of. You know, I'm sure I'm not the only person that you're laying down to go to sleep. Oh my God, I just thought of something great. Got to write it down real quick.
Yeah.
Or I'm waking up and I'm in a twilight and I have a great idea, or something, you know, important comes to me. I got to write it down really quickly. But journaling, especially when you're tired, it's a different level of release and purging. I think that happens.
I
That
agree.
is completely underrated.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, sometimes you can pull out your meditations and, you know, listen to sleep music. That's something. Sometimes you can take a walk, like I said. Sometimes I'll, you know, get one of the fur babies to come up into bed, and that can help just kind of relax you. Warm milk was always a big thing back in the day. But what do you think are some of the things that you can do when it's out of your control? So like when you are in an environment like a hospital or a caregiver situation where you're a patient or you're the caregiver and you're being woken up every 2 hours. What are some, what are some things you think?
Well, I mean, hearing from you what you used to do for me was, you know, you were my caregiver back when I was in the hospital much younger, and you learned what the nurses would be looking for. And so you would gather some of that information for them or coordinate with them so that way they could get more done at one time and wouldn't need to wake me up every 2 hours. So having that caregiver, I mean, we've stressed in many of these lives that if you can have someone by your side, do that, because they can make such a difference in your experience. So in a patient caregiver situation, having someone to advocate for you, having someone to get that information that you know the nurses are going to need to try to give you more sleep. But if it's still unavoidable, I would say number one, make the most of the time that you can get sleep. So that means when you know that you are able to get sleep, whether you're in the hospital or you're just home and there's a lot going on, whatever, you know, make sure it's the best sleep you can have. Turn the thermostat down. The body does better when it's cold around them. You know, make sure your room is as dark as possible. Do you need white noise? Do you need soothing sounds? Like, what can you do to make the sleep that you are going to get as beneficial as possible? And then the other thing that I would say is make the most of the time not sleeping as well. So if you truly can't sleep, your body can still get rest by just, if you can't sleep, keep your eyes closed and just allow your body to rest. Take yourself through meditation. You know, a great one that when I was younger, I would have issues where I couldn't sleep. And just do a simple meditation where you instruct yourself to relax your body from the crown of your head, down your body, through your toes. Do that as many times as you need. Eventually, theoretically, you should fall asleep, but it's still allowing your body to relax. Your body may not be able to fully because you're not sleeping, but you can still get some sort of relaxation there. And then when it's time to get up, make the most of your time awake. You know, are you prioritizing self-care in other ways? Can you take a relaxing bath? Take 5 minutes to yourself to meditate. You know, anything to help reduce the stress in your body and relax yourself.
I think those are all great tips, and I think one of the things I used to do when I was a first time mom was when the baby sleeps,
Right.
you sleep. Like you sleep. It doesn't matter that it's 11 o'clock in the morning. If the baby's taking a nap, go lay down. Go lay down with the baby. Go lay down, take a nap, rest. Because when the baby's up, you don't have a choice. And I was always much better on those days that I was able to do that.
Yeah.
Another.
Real quick, I think that leads into something really interesting that people overlook too. Is just because everybody else's schedule is 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever it is, does not mean that yours has to be if you have the ability to have your schedule be flexible. Just because everybody else is getting up at 5 a.m. does not mean that you have to if your schedule doesn't work that way. If you're able to create your own schedule and you get really good sleep 2 to 10 a.m. and you're able to do that, do that.
Right.
There's nothing limiting you if you have the luxury to do that. And that personally for me was one of the hardest things to adjust to, going from working for someone to working for myself, was realizing, wait, why am I still getting up as early as I am? I don't need to.
Right.
Why am I doing that to myself? Why am I forcing myself to be exhausted? That's silly.
Yeah.
If you want to go to bed early or late, do that.
Yeah. Why force yourself to do something because it's a norm that was set for other people and it doesn't pertain to you?
Absolutely.
So yeah, absolutely. So going to my facts, published in the journal Sleep, they did a study and they found that people whose sleep was frequently interrupted for 3 consecutive nights reported significantly worse moods than those that had sleep due to later bedtimes. So then that goes to what's more important, quantity or quality.
Yeah.
And in this study, they found that sleep interruption was more detrimental to mood than lack of sleep, which sheds light on the association between depression and insomnia. So
I would also like to know from the study, what were the causes of the sleep disruption? Were they natural causes, or were there things that were interrupting them specifically? Because being woken up naturally makes me feel a lot different than a week ago when we were woken up by an accidental emergency broadcast system notice.
That was fun.
Being woken up by my puppy who won't stop whining feels a lot differently than I woke up at 2:30 because I just had caffeine before bed.
Right.
So I would be interested to know those details of that study as well.
It's an interesting study. We can share it in the link. But I think that, that's a great thought process of quantity versus quality, because if you know that you're going to wake up, let's say at 3 o'clock in the morning, then get a block of sleep beforehand, get up at 3, do something, and then take your next 4-hour block.
Absolutely.
And now you're equaling potentially 7 or 8 or 9 hours, and you still allowed for that, for whatever reason your body gets up. Now, there's something to be said about circadian rhythms. And if you don't know about circadian rhythms, I definitely suggest that you go and research. But waking up in the morning, going outside and allowing your eyes to see sunlight. So no glasses, no contacts, no sunglasses. Allow your eyes to look into sunlight so that your body gets used to that. And then guess what? Back in the old days when the sun went down, that's when you started to slow down. The lights would start dimming in the house naturally, and you would slow your day down. So there's something to be said also about having those electronics that you're reading. And good evening, Raymond. And this is an interesting topic for somebody who has a night shift position. But also those electronic devices. And it's hard because I read books on my electronic device. So that light is in my face. And so I've had to learn to put the book down for, it should be, I think, an hour before you're planning to sleep. But on the other hand, reading does kind of slow me down. So you got to weigh
Yeah,
out.
different, there's other things that you can do, blue light glasses,
Yes.
there's certain like color filters you can do on your phone and stuff. So there are
Right.
ways to navigate that, definitely.
Yeah.
I also think we could learn a thing or two from chickens. I don't know if anyone has chickens, but if you do have chickens, then you are quite familiar that chickens naturally put themselves to bed. So typically it is when the sun rises, they are up and they're ready to be let out. And before the sun sets, they have tucked themselves into their coop for the night. All you have to do is shut the door. That's how chickens work. So we could learn a thing or two about chickens where they have a routine and they go in at night when the sun goes down, and that's just the way it works. And speaking of routine, another thing to pay attention to, someone told me a very long time ago, a medical professional, get on a schedule.
Yes.
Get on a dang schedule.
Yes.
If you were waking up at 5 one day, 7 one day, noon the next day, you are doing yourself a disservice. Especially, I'm going to sleep in on the weekend. Well, no wonder your Monday morning sucks. No wonder you're exhausted and your week is
true. It's true.
Because now you've thrown your body off. Your body is a system of habit.
Yeah. I like my Saturday and my Sunday,
I know you do.
That's my snuggle time. I'm still up normally by 8, 9 o'clock. But on the weekdays, 5:55. And so I did that because I found that number was fun for me. And so I challenged myself because, when you see numbers, it gives you a sign for the day, so to speak. So I figure if I set my alarm for 5:55, it's going to excite me, right? That I want to see it. And so I get up every morning at 5:55. I do my meditations. This morning, I went for a walk with the neighbors. We were out the door by 6:50. Back by 7:30. And so it's every day, right? You have such a different routine. And I find that those mornings that I walk, thank you, Allison, and Aurelia and Jackie, those mornings that I get up and I go and I walk, I am more productive than when I get up and meditate, journal, sit around and go down a wormhole, So, you got to learn what works best for you and then make that a routine, the things that you enjoy. And that's so important no matter what you're doing. If you're going to work, if you're taking care of the kids, if you're looking for a job, whatever you're doing, do what you love in the morning so you set yourself up for a good rest of your day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what did Raymond say? Insomnia keeps me up all night, and it's always been my time. And that's what we were kind of talking about. I think maybe before you joined us, was you have to do what's right for you. And so do we have to necessarily label it insomnia, or are you just a night owl and are you really better at night? And if that's it, you have the perfect, position. You work night shift. And there's people that function better at night. I love my mornings, but I have to say that when everyone goes to bed and the house is quiet, I get like a second wind. And I think that that's why there's some energy that I have to expend before I go to sleep. And so I think that that's why it's harder for me to relax. Now, my husband, your father, he's asleep in, like 2.5 seconds, maybe. And that's how he functions. So, when you don't get enough sleep, we all know that there's, this is the mental health check-in here. When you don't get enough sleep, what are some of the things that we deal with? Grumpiness. Bad mood. Yeah.
Dehydration, I think.
Yes. And I actually think that dehydration, at least for me, can be one of the things that wakes me up in the middle of the night. So I don't think
both sides of it.
Yeah, and I don't think that you should drink a whole glass of water at 11 o'clock at night. But if you are maintaining your hydration during the day, then you're going to be better as you sleep at night. What do you find, those that are watching, our viewers, what do you find are some of the sleep deprived rampages or mood swings that you go through during your day? Just share it in the comments if you want to. We'd love that. So as this continues for prolonged periods of time, according to the study, they found that people whose sleep was frequently interrupted for 3 consecutive nights definitely impacted their lives majorly. Relationships suffered, their productivity suffered, their jobs can suffer, eating can suffer when you're off.
It all goes back to mindset. You have shorter fuse when you're tired.
Right.
If you're like me, if I don't get enough sleep, I am falling asleep during meditation. 100% I'm going to fall asleep again, which means I'm really not meditating. So I'm not giving myself that time to quiet my mind. I don't have interest in doing much. I'm literally just trying to get through my day when I'm tired.
Yeah.
And that's the cause of all of those other things that you just said.
Right. Because then no one's getting the best of you. They're getting what's left of you. And so it really is taking care of yourself in order to take care of other people. So that old saying of putting your own oxygen mask on first really is true, because you cannot take care of anybody else if you are feeling depleted. And that means when you are giving too much of yourself to too many people and spreading yourself too thin. And I'm sure that there's people on here that know other people that are doing that even currently. And they need to be mindful, right? We all need to be mindful because, lack of sleep lowers your immune system. It just lowers everything, and it doesn't make life very fun.
Yeah.
Not fun at all. So anything that you would like to add to our sleep conversation?
Me?
Yeah.
I would just want to reiterate that for those that struggle with insomnia, I think one of the most difficult things, because I have had times where I don't experience it normally, but I have certainly had times myself. And I think one of the hardest things is being frustrated because you really do just want to sleep, but you can't. Or, you feel this pressure of, I really need to go to sleep. And so you basically make it worse on yourself. And so I would just want to touch on that again and just say, take the pressure off of yourself and just allow yourself to just rest, even if it's not sleeping. Go back to what we were saying before. Just rest in some form of another. Allow yourself to just be there.
Yeah.
And allow your body to lay down and rest. Take the pressure off yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing that you need to fix. Just chill. Just literally, it's that simple. You don't have to sleep. Okay, you can't sleep. No big deal. Just lay there and allow your body to rest. Put on some soothing music to allow your nervous system to rest. Find that sound that soothes your nervous system. There's brown noise, white noise, black noise, purple noise, I think, yellow noise. There's all sorts of colors of noises to different degrees of sound. Find what works for you to relax your nervous system and just focus on that if you can't sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, just focus on that, because ultimately, if you start diving into the emotional and spiritual and all these things connected with insomnia, I think you'll find that might be the right route for you to help with that.
Well, yeah. And if there is something that's keeping you awake, a concern, an issue, a problem,
overthinking,
ruminating, get that stuff handled. Don't bury your head in the sand. Actually take care of what you need to take care of, because guess what? Once it's done, it's done. It's off your plate. And so, some people, they don't want to, and I love shadow work, but they don't want to face their shadows. Well, guess what? Maybe you need to, because maybe it'll keep you up that one night, but now the next night you're going to sleep better because you faced your shadows and you did what you needed. You did the work that you needed to do. I just heard a howling dog.
Yeah, mute myself.
One of the techniques, I just want to go back to that real quick. One of the techniques I used to use, and I taught the kids too, because let's face it, kids can keep us up by not being able to sleep themselves. Instead of counting sheep, I would count gratitude. I would count the things that I was grateful for. And I swear every time that I did that, and funny that Judy Blume's movie is coming out, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, which was one of my favorites as a kid. And I would always start with, Are you there, God? It's Michelle. And I would go through my gratitudes. And usually I don't even know that I got to 10, because I would then be in such a different mindset, because I'd be thinking of all the things that I was grateful for. Even if it was like my pillow, my house, the roof over my head, the dinner that I had, anything that I could be grateful for. And then I would just, of course, my family. And then I would just count that, and it would lull me to sleep. It would literally lull me to sleep. So
I think it goes back to find what works for you. Try all of this. Try other things. Experiment. Even if it sounds stupid. It's just you in there. Or maybe you and your partner, or you and your dog. Just try stuff.
Well, we were talking about that before.
If you're already up all night, trying something out is not, what's going to happen? You're going to actually go to sleep?
Yeah.
That's the end goal.
Yeah, very cool. And we were kind of talking about the difference between masculine and feminine, and going to bed and sleeping and sometimes exerting energy. Yeah, I know. But it is true that men and women are different. And so sometimes,
I feel like you're making this not clear. So I'm just going to say this as diplomatically as possible. Men and women have different needs in the bedroom. And for women, they get energized after activities, where men tend to get more tired. So what may work for a guy to help them fall asleep may not help a woman in the same way. So you also have to consider that and think about maybe rearranging some extracurricular activities to cater to your needs.
Isn't it interesting? And it's so funny that we're
oh, look, we got an extra viewer on that conversation.
And isn't it interesting, though, when you think about it, the stereotype in movies, when the women are always like, but you won't snuggle with me, and the guy gets up and leaves. But really, I know that you get a lot of energy. I want to get up. I want to do stuff. And so I think it's so funny, because in the movies and stuff, it's not about that. It's like the guy always wants to get up.
Women are portrayed very differently in movies than real life.
So
and I think that's where a lot of the issues come in, in all aspects. And I think people get stuck in what's being portrayed to them versus what is reality. But that is a conversation for another day.
Oh, but the masculine, feminine conversation with us is so much fun.
Yeah, that's the whole. We've already run almost 45 minutes. I think we save that for another day.
All right.
I have dinner to cook. Speaking of feminine versus masculine,
I have animals to feed, because I'm doing the farm chores today. So, everybody, thank you for joining us, and please like and subscribe and share. Invite people to join Calm the Chaos in the group. We have
Michelle, where can they find you?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. At bokeshagrace.com. And if you are looking to improve your life and start making some changes, and you need some accountability, that's what a life coach is for. And that's what I am passionate about helping people do, is transform their lives and up level. So, as I always, Krista, thank you for joining us today. And I love when you're here. I think it's so much fun. And I hope that we do this more and more often. And remember that any day can be the best day or the worst day. You get to make that choice. So choose wisely. And I will see you next week.
And we didn't really talk about me too much about what I do. But if you need any consulting, wickedwisdomconsulting.com is where you can find me.
What things do you do, Krista? What is it that you do?
everything and anything related to business operations. There's all sorts of information on my
But
website.
we're talking about like, business stuff like setting up schedules and that kind of thing, or what kind of operations are you talking
That's
about?
a little bit more admin. We're talking about bigger projects, workflow stuff, sales funnels, video editing, all literally A through Z of business operations. I'm your girl. wickedwisdomconsulting.com. Here's the spelling right here. But it has been a pleasure being on Moment of Presence once again. Tell them where can they find you again? What's your website?
mokshagrace.com. And when you, let's say, book a call or send an email, I had a certain operations guru that's sitting here in pink that set up all of the automations, everything that happens behind the scenes, all done by Krista Barone, because she knows how to make all of those systems talk to each other. So if you're tired of doing those mundane things and you're like, why do I have to send this email out, or why do I have to click this button? If you want to be able to click one button, Krista's your girl. So
thank you for the menu commercial. I might have to click that.
Woman.
Semantics.
Young.
mokshagrace.com is where to find Michelle. Book your discovery call. It's going to be worth it. Let's get your insomnia tossed out the door.
Exactly. Have a great week, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.